Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. I want to thank once again J.B. Wilson, my old friend, from Honolulu, Hawaii, and also another dear friend, Lieutenant General Jack Berkman. My whole point of view is leadership is crucial today. Most people haven't gone to school to learn to be leaders, but we can always learn more. Because, as you know, the leadership of our world is probably shoddy right now, probably incompetent, a lot of times corrupt. So that means, rather than blame them, I think it's up to us to become better leaders of ourselves. So with that, we're going into a very, very popular part of our program. It's called Ask Robert. So, Melissa, who was the first question from?
Our first question today comes from Chad in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Honolulu. We know Honolulu well.
His favorite book is Unfair Advantage. Chad's question is this. He says, I work for a terrible boss. He's the manager by title, but he can't manage himself or the team out of a paper bag. He says, I like my job, but can't stand how ineffectively and inefficiently he manages our team. He's buddies with his boss, so there's nowhere to go with my concerns. Should I stick it out, or is the only answer to quit my job?
There's no answer to that one, man. I tell you, I feel for you because...
Yeah, I think a lot of people are there.
Yeah, but I think it goes back to what the General Jack Bergman said, is, it's about being an example. And in the Marine Corps, Jack was a good example and I was a bad example. So we're all lead in some way or the other. And I can only give from my experience when I was in Honolulu also working for the Xerox Corporation, I had what I thought was a horrible leader. I mean, these guys, in my opinion, they were con men. They would tell you whatever they wanted to tell you. I had no respect for them. In my opinion, they were not people I wanted to grow up and become like. At the same time, there was other guys in other parts of the Xerox company who I did respect and who I did like. And when I went over to this one salesman, his name was Charlie Robinson, one of the greatest, mentors I ever had. He was in the same company, but he was who I wanted to be like. So the thing I can say for you is this: if you know you're not wanting to be like these people, it's character building to put up with people. But another thing is character building to say, I quit, I don't want to put up with it. So both are, examples that you can use. Either I'm going to go and put up with these idiots, or I'm going to make a change and go find the leader I want to work with or for. What do you think, Kim?
I agree totally. I mean, I think it's really, really hard to excel and to grow under a bad leader. I think that's their main mission isn't for you to prosper and grow and all of that. So I think that's number one, hard. But I'm going to say, you may want to go back and re-listen to this show. Go back to richdadradio.com and listen to the podcast, because JW and General Jack talked about this. They said, you have options. You can quit. You can do nothing. But the hardest thing would be to sit down with your boss and have a discussion and confront them or him or her, but the possibility that you may get fired. So you got to look at all. But I guess to me, when you talk about character, Robert, that's really what it's about, because you got to look within you and you got to live with yourself every day. So
and the final thing is, that's always what JB talked about, the consequence, or I talked about consequence.
Yeah.
If you go in there and you have a conversation with whoever you don't like there and he fires you, that's a consequence. And sometimes you live with it. And that's the reason most people don't quit, is they don't want to face that possibility. They don't want to sit down and talk to the boss and say, hey, look, I don't like you, you're doing this and all that. And it probably doesn't end up pretty. You may get fired. You may be demoted and all these things, but those are the consequences. Or you can just sit around and be an example of somebody who just sits around from 9 to 5 and puts up with an idiot. It's up to you.
Which is another argument for why the Rich Dad Company was formed, because it's about financial education, so you don't have to sit there and be with bad bosses and put up with all the BS. You can get charge of your financial life, so you don't have to do that 9 to 5 stuff.
Yeah, and never stop learning. That's the whole thing. Today I listened to this program with two of my dear friends, and it's like a kick in the gut, because I understand now that I'm a bad example a lot of the time, and I need to make changes in my life. And I think that's the most important lesson. So what can you make changes in your life so you become a better example? Next question, Melissa.
Our next question comes from Olutabosun in Nigeria. Favorite book, Midas Touch. His question is this: how can I detach myself from the old parental advice of going to school and getting a job to building a business and creating cash flow? These two contrary concepts are always battling in my mind.
It's a good question, because there's always opposition. No matter what you do in life, you'll always have opposition. You could say I'm whatever it is. I always say this: a coin has three sides: heads, tails, and the edge of the coin. You see on the edge of the coin right now. One answer is not better than the other. A lot of times it's better for people to be an employee, and for some people it's better to be an entrepreneur. Years and years ago, I had to sit on the edge of the coin and listen to my poor dad or my rich dad. And my poor dad wanted me to go back to school, get my MBA, and become a government employee or work for a corporation. And in my gut, I knew that wasn't for me. At the same time, I was not yet prepared to do what my rich dad was doing, which was be an entrepreneur. So I had to kind of make what I call an educational plan as to what I had to learn to be an entrepreneur. Because if you go to school, you're not taught to be an entrepreneur, you're taught to be an employee. So top of my list of what I had to become to be an entrepreneur is learn how to sell. So I went to work for the Xerox Corporation. If you guys can't sell this network marketing, they'll teach you how to sell, and they work really well with you. So you've got to develop those skills. And the third set of skills, I had to learn how to use debt and finance, to be successful in the world of business. So today, Kim and I are pretty high on top of the world of money right now, but we prepared for this, and it wasn't easy. Back in 1973, when I came back from Vietnam, and I saw my poor dad sitting there unemployed because he got fired, and he's still telling me to go to school and get my PhD and get a job. I knew at that time in my guts I had to make some changes inside of me. I'm not saying it's easy. Being an entrepreneur is a lot harder than being an employee.
I think the key words are in your gut. It's in my gut. We're talking about leadership, and leadership is, JW said, it's about, you can't have leadership without respect. Well, you also have to respect yourself. So all I would say to this gentleman from Nigeria is, what's in your gut? What is it you really want to do? One other thing I've learned from JW is he talks about the most important thing is you must have meaning in your life. So what is it that's giving you meaning in your life? Is it going to be going to school and getting a good job? Is that going to be meaningful to you?
Security.
Or is it building a business? Is that going to give you more meaning? So what's most important to you? And then you decide. It's you said, Robert, it's what's in your gut.
So Kim, is it easy to start a business?
Oh, God, no. It's not easy to start. It's not easy to create cash flow. No, it takes a lot of effort. No, it's easy to go to school and get a good job. Or get a job. It's easy to do that, but it's harder to build a business.
Like right now, I could go back to school. I could go back and sail ships, which I was trained to do. I could fly planes. That would be easy.
But it would kill your spirit.
Starting a business is hard. I mean, extremely hard.
But it would kill your spirit to be.
So with that, Melissa, next question, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Daze from Wellington, New Zealand. Favorite book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Daze's question is this: what is your opinion on the upcoming generation, those like myself that were born in the 90s? I see a lot of my friends who are obsessed with celebrities, music, TV shows, fashion, etc., spending all their money on the latest shoes and gadgets. With the coming of a new age or era, when the change of wealth comes, I want to make sure that I'm prepared, but I don't think a lot of my peers are. How can I convince them that they need to start preparing for their financial future now?
I wouldn't waste my time on that. And first of all, it's important you have fun as a kid. Do the things that kids do. Like we're talking about this thing with JW and I. We're just two drunk, small business guys struggling with our little businesses, playing rugby, drinking beer, chasing women, and all this stuff. We had a great time. Then one day we woke up. And I think that's what happens to many people. I think everybody eventually wakes up. The question, what do they do when they wake up? And as JW knows and Kim knows, we went back to school. I mean, not traditional school, but we did seminars, we trained, we did this, we started our own companies so we could practice and all this. We knew we had a lot to learn, but that's self-discipline. It's self-leadership. That's the thing that makes the difference. Kim and I also have a lot of friends who didn't make that transition. They stayed, they're still sitting in the bars, chasing young tourists in Hawaii and all this stuff, but they never grew up. And that's a choice also. So you're not going to change anybody. They either change themselves or they don't. But what I had to do is find the people I wanted to be with. That was the most important thing. See, because what I believe inside each and every one of us is a rich person, a poor person, and a middle-class person. So my job as an educator is to pull out that rich person. And that's all I focus on. I'm not going to hear change the poor or change the middle class. And we create these board games called cash flow when we write these books. And education means educe, to draw out of you. And our cash flow game draws out of you the rich person in you. So I can sit there and talk to people who believe the rich are evil. I can talk to the people who say, I want to be a rich person too. And that's my crowd. I don't want to convince other people who want the government to take care of them with Social Security or I'm entitled and all this or be a crook. I don't want to talk to those guys. So part of me is I have to be true to what I believe in. And I believe in each and every one of you out there is a rich person, a poor person, a middle class person. And inside of me is that battle myself. I'm cheap. I'm a poor person. I'm cheap. I like job security just as much as anybody else, like the middle class does. I want that steady paycheck just as much as anybody else. But I also want to be rich. Now, a lot of people think about being rich, but they don't have an educational, financial plan or an action plan to get there. So that's why all we do at Rich Dad is we develop the products and games to educe. Educe means to pull out of you, not induce. See, school induces the middle class mentality. You go to school, get a job, job security. I didn't want anybody to induce those thoughts into my brain like my poor dad. I wanted the rich person, educe, to come out. Like when you pick up a guitar, it brings out the musician in you, and that's what guitars are for. They're just a tool. Our cash flow games and our products and all the web and all this is for people who want to bring out that rich person in you. Did I say it was easy? No. Comments, Kim?
Yeah, I congratulate Daze for having this mentality, this mindset already at such a young age. And something that's interesting, she says her friends are obsessed with these celebrities, and celebrities, unfortunately, have become the role models. The music, the rap singers, all of the TV stars, they've become the role models. So I guess my question to Daze is, who are your role models? Who do you want to study? And Robert, just as you're saying, who are the people that you want to hang out with? What's the environment you want to create for yourself? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are they the people that are going in the same direction you are?
If any questions you'd like to personally ask us, go to Rich Dad Radio and go to Ask Robert and ask us your personal question. But I also believe there's a rich person in you, otherwise you wouldn't be listening.
You've been listening to the Rich Dad Radio Show with Robert Kiyosaki. To learn more about the good news and bad news about money, go to richdadradio.com.